Very pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU basketball coaches. As the regular season has come to a conclusion for the JMU men, but the JMU women still have 2 regular season games to go. Coach Kenny Brooks joins us now, and first of all, Coach Brooks, since we last were here, the Dukes have won 2 more, pushing that winning streak to 15 in a row. They have claimed the regular season title and the number 1 seed for the CA Championship tournament that gets underway in a couple of weeks. And, you've got 22 victories now, so getting a little closer to what you call the new 20 at 24 wins. A lot happened since our last encounter here at O'Neill's Grill. And for the head coach, how was your week?
That was a pretty good week. I thought we came out and we accomplished some of our goals. And obviously to go 2-0, we had to travel down to Wilmington, North Carolina, and I thought we put together a solid performance all around. Got contributions from all over. Really helped us. It was a tough trip. Anyone that understands that playing a 7 o'clock game on a Friday night in Wilmington, North Carolina, and then having to trek back and less than 48 hours play another game, a very grueling game. It was tough. We didn't get back till 4 o'clock in the morning. Had to cram for the next day. The day was a little bit unorthodox because the men had a game, so we couldn't really get on the floor at a certain time. Then we had to cram, for a very important CAA slate, but also just as or more important because it was senior day. And we take that day very serious around here. We want to make sure that we honor our seniors in great fashion. We always do it in a great manner as far as recognition, giving them their time on the court so the fans can give them a wonderful reception for all of their hard work. But then we also want to send them out the right way with a victory. And we knew it was going to be a very tough task, and it proved to be so. But we were very fortunate to come away with the weekend with 2 wins. We actually clinched during the weekend as well. It's kind of funny. I guess it's where our program is like we clinch a regular season title. And I'm very good friends with Kevin Keats, the head men's basketball coach at Wilmington, and I spent a little time with him after their loss to Hofstra before they played, I think it was Towson, and he talked about what a big deal that would be for them to have a share of that title and things that they would do. And we won it in that fashion and really didn't celebrate. We really didn't even, I really didn't even get a lot of texts or, calls to congratulate. And I guess that's a testament to your program that, you've done it and, you have your sights set higher. But even when I announced it to the kids, it was almost like silence, like, okay, what's that little, we had a little sound effect with the little birthday horn. It's a kind of low key. That would have been it. It's okay. But our goals are bigger. Our goals are bigger. And I think we're on our way to accomplishing those goals. And this weekend was a big weekend for that.
Well, I think you told you succinctly put it to David Taylor in your post-game show on the JMU and TELUS Wireless Sports Network that thank you, David, for the pat on the back for winning the regular season title. So if the fans and the JMU Nation aren't giving you a lot of credit, it's because I think you've kind of set the tone for that, Coach.
Oh, no question. We're like that with ourselves. Just a couple of years ago, they started giving you a trophy for it. So you could always say, well, we don't get a trophy for that. So they started giving a trophy, so okay, it becomes a little bit more of a big deal. But our main goal is to hang a banner, and we if you notice, we don't put regular season champions. We want to put CAA champions, and that's our goal. That's our mantra, to be CAA champions every year, and that's the way the league recognizes it. If we were the Ivy League, then we would have celebrated, because there is no conference tournament, and we would have been a conference champion, which I think that's the way it's supposed to be, and it's easy to say that when you win it, but I'm sure the 2nd through 10th place teams don't want that. But it's recognition of hard work over a 3-month span. I think it is an accomplishment. But when you recognize as a champion when you win the tournament, that's what we really have our sights set for, and that's what we're really working for.
It was a very emotional game yesterday at the Convocation Center for a couple of reasons. One, because you did have the 5 that you recognize, 4 which will be departing JMU at the end of their careers here, and Precious Hall will return. So you had that, and just the emotional ending to the game. Coach, I'm sure that many coaches would like to take the opportunity to pull their seniors off one by one in their final home game, that's not the way the script played out yesterday. Elon is a pretty good basketball team. They were entertaining to watch. I'm sure for the fans were frustrated. You were frustrated at times. And frustration may not be the right word, but they gave you some competition yesterday.
Yeah, a funny story. I'm a big fan of JMU basketball. Period. Obviously, some people. I have to remind them that yes, I played on the men's side here. My legend grows because I tell everybody I was a lot better than I really was, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm also a big fan, and we were watching film as a team, and during the course, we got out of watching film, and I was able to catch the last part of the men's game. And it was really funny because I had out-of-body experiences. Normally when I watch a game, I'm very calm. And I'm calm because I've seen it, been there, done that. It's just part of what I do. And when Joey McLean knocked down the three to put the Dukes up by 4 on the men's side, I found myself fist pumping. And I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Okay, and I calmed myself down. We gave up, I think, an and one towards the end of the game. I'm talking about the men's basketball program, and I got mad at the kid who missed the assignment. And then when the game was in hand, one of the things I do is I watch other coaches' reactions, see what they would do, whether it's football when I did it with Everett or whether it's men's basketball when I do it with Matt. And when the game was pretty much in hand, Matt had a golden opportunity to take Ron Curry out. And I looked at Matt, and Matt was so relieved that they had the win that he really forgot until it was that time. And so that night, I expressed my sentiments as a fan. I called Matt, and I said, congratulations, great win. And we talked, and I said, but you should have taken Ron out of the game. And we laughed. We had a good little laugh about that. So it's always, that thing you want to do, to give your seniors that last hurrah. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. We needed our seniors in at the end of the basketball game, and Jazz came up very big with the game-saving block. But needless to say that those kids are recognized for what they have done. And I just think that, the crowd, the boisterous crowd, the atmosphere, the electricity in that gym, and to celebrate that last play, I think that was just as much as any kind of standing ovation we could have given them. But we sent them out the right way. It wasn't always pretty. It wasn't in the fashion you would have liked. We always liked it. My brother texted me. He said, hey, I like those 20-point wins as opposed to the ones that we just now had. But it was a very exciting game. Elon, I've said it, I think they're one of the best teams in our league. They match up very well against us, and they established themselves. And, we did some things, I think, that precluded us from pushing the lead out. But I'm sure they have areas of the game they thought they probably could have done well as well. But it was a very entertaining basketball game, very good game, and I think it's going to be a precursor for things to come probably in another week and a half.
Yeah, it looks like the tournament, as you said, it begins a week and a half, and top 4, top 5 can be certainly a competitive open-up field there. So let's open it up to other members of the media here. We're at O'Neill's Grill talking with JMU women's basketball coach Kenny Brooks.
Well, as Kurt mentioned, very emotional, especially at the end. You saw Jazmon just kind of break down there. Do you think that's what has separated this team from previous teams, just the way they carry their emotions and use it as fuel for them to succeed?
I think that they've taken it to another level. I think it's something that's been developing over the years. When I first got into this thing, I'm an old school coach, and you walk in and everyone better have their game face on. And one of the things that I've learned, and I think part of my success is that I've evolved as a coach to really, just understand kids of today, and they're different. They're different. Where we had to have our game face on, look serious, mean, ready to go all the time. You want the kids to be relaxed and understand that they can go out, and it is a game. It is a game. And it probably all started with Toya Jiggets. There was times where Toya's way of dealing with adversity or tough times was to smile and laugh her way through it, and she would be able to get through it. And that just kind of passed on down to everyone else. This group included. Where I would see them out, and they're dancing to the pep band. And they're still doing it. The pep band, and who can't dance to the pep band? They're really good, but they dance. They're loose. It's trickled down to this group. When I walk into the locker room, they're doing skits. They're laughing, they're doing whatever, and it's just a fun group to be around. And I think that all trickles down to the chemistry that's been created because of that, and the tight knit group. They play for each other, and it definitely spills over to the court. You can't have chemistry on the court. It's built off the court, and I think that's what this group has done. You watch, and I think I alluded to this yesterday. It's amazing watching their different personalities mesh into one group. And how they're so different, whether they're, a kid from Vermont, has to mesh with a kid from Tallahassee, Florida. And they find a way to do it, and they all become sisters to the point where they'll fight for each other. And it's very obvious, it's very evident that they fight for each other, they love each other, they play for each other. And for me, it's a tremendous experience. It's like a father watching, their children finally learn how to get along, when they have differences. But they do. They fight for each other. They've meshed well with all the different personalities. And I think that's a direct result of the success that we have.
You've got the number 1 seed locked up heading into the final week of the regular season. In a way, it's like an NFL team who's got the number 1 seed, the first round bye, home field advantage to the playoffs. How do you approach the final week?
We try to win every possession, every game, every time we're out on the court. At this level, with what we are, who you are, even being a mid-major where everything matters, every game matters, everything matters, we can't afford to take any time off. We can't afford to relax. And the kids are too competitive. They're not built to take time off. Even with the older kids, Jazz has a lot of miles on her legs right now. Muff has a lot of miles on her legs right now. Even when I try to sit them out of practice, they get upset. They get disappointed because they want to compete. They want to go out and compete. So for us to let off the gas pedal at all, it's not in our nature. We can't do that. We won't do that. We have a lot of basketball left. And, we still have aspirations. If you don't win a tournament, you want to put yourself in the best possible situation. I'm not exactly sure what our RPI is right now, but it's in the neighborhood where you can be considered for some things if something happened. The ball definitely has to bounce your way. But these kids are going to go out and try to win every game. We have 2 more games to win, and we're looking forward to the opportunities. We were a little bit vanilla yesterday in our schemes because just understanding that we probably were going to play Elon again in the tournament. And it didn't catch up to us, but we were a lot more bland, and we need to pick it up, and we'll definitely do that if we see them again.
And finally, we talked about this last year, you balancing being a coach and then being a dad who has daughters who are playing in the playoffs trying to compete for a state title. In an ironic twist of fate, your girls are playing at JMU while you're going to be at Charleston. So I bring up the question again, how are you balancing, the focus of being a coach and guiding your team to victory while being a dad and you have daughters who are playing in games that are really mattering and you're not going to get that chance again?
It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Obviously, my career is very important, and it's probably been the most important thing in the household up until now. And because now they're playing very meaningful games, and we're very fortunate. Both of them play for Spotswood, and they are able to play in games of this nature. So to be there is a treat. I'm a nervous wreck watching them because I want them to be successful. Watching them win and be successful is probably one of the most proudest moments that I have in athletics. Not being able to be there, it's really tough. It really is. When they played at Magna Vista, I had the highest of highs because we won a basketball game and we played extremely well. Did the interview with David. I ran to my phone and the first thing I saw was lost 60-59. And then automatically you feel the heart break for them because they're so excited about this, playing meaningful games, and then to know that they're going to play their first game in the States, and they're doing something that I never did. I never got to play in a state tournament, and for them to be able to do that is a tremendous experience. But just to know they're going to be in my building and playing a game, and I'm going to be in Charleston, South Carolina, I can't watch it. It's very disappointing. And my lovely wife, she tried, as a mom would do, as a wife would do, she's trying to set everything up. Friday night she was telling me, hey, look, if you get your iPad, we have this and we have that, and we can stream it so you can watch the game and blah, blah, blah. And I let her finish, and then finally I said, well, how am I going to watch the game while I'm coaching a game? And, she's like, oh, I forgot. So, she's trying to, help facilitate everything. But, I won't get to see them play from here on out. They're going to play Saturday, I think it is. We'll be in Charleston. If they're fortunate enough to advance to Richmond for the semifinals and the finals, I'm hoping that we're still playing at semifinals and finals on the same day that they're playing. So it's difficult. I'll miss a lot. The one great thing is that they love to watch film with me. So hopefully we'll be able to celebrate knowing the outcome, but we'll still be able to sit down and watch film and pretend like it's something happening for the first time. They know those rims as well as anyone. So, I mean, they've grown up on those rims. They've grown up on that floor, and it's really interesting. My middle child is very observant, and she watches film with me. Chloe, she watches film with me all the time, and the dilemma they're having right now is that we don't have two lines on our floor for the 3-point line. And I think she was talking to Coach Dotson, and she says, well, what are you going to do? And he says, well, there's two lines on that floor. And she kind of looked at him. She says, I know that floor inside and out. There's not two lines on that floor. So they're going to have to do something to put an extra line up there. But they know that gym inside and out. They know where the basketballs are. They know where the rims, the sweet spots, the soft spots. So I don't have to give them any advice. We might have a couple of daddy-daughter sessions before then, but who knows?
With the level of expectation that your team has, and you talk about the fans, nobody really calling and congratulating you on winning, how do you keep the team hungry from getting to the point of, okay, we've done this, this is where we are, this is going to come to us? How do you keep them, especially when in a tight game like yesterday when you really had to have them all the way down the stretch?
We find ways. Some of them are manufactured, some of them are real. We find ways to keep the kids hungry, motivated. And I think going into this game, a good friend of mine, I won't say her name, but after the game was over, she sent me a Facebook post of one of the Elon parents. And the caption was, called the police, we got robbed, JMU's days as a number one team are numbered. Motivation, right then and there. Just little ways we find to get the kids going, and they understand that we can play a lot better, and the euphoria of winning that championship is enough in itself. That feeling, all the hard work, just coming out in that one moment is enough to keep them motivated as well. So this is a good group. They're very focused. The seniors want to go out the right way, and their determination trickles down to the younger players to understand. Even if the younger players hadn't been through it, they sense that something is very, very special on the horizon and that they better pick it up. And so their first experience with it is something they're going to be prepared for. And that's why we do it. And that's why we've done it. And we've had a really good run with kids being really focused about how to win championships.
And if you would, again, just talk about keeping an eye on the current situation, but you've always got to be recruiting not just for 1 year, but for 2 or 3 years down the road, especially replacing what you are losing this year and what you're going to be losing in the next couple of years. How do you balance that out? It's
very hard, and one of the things you do as a coach when you're always you're in future mode, and you have to be. One of the things that really drives me is fear of failure, and I really think if you rest on your laurels, sometimes if you stop to smell the roses and you really enjoy the moment, sometimes you're missing out on what could be going on in the future. And we're always looking at, what's going on down the line. I can tell you what my roster is going to look like pretty much in 2 years, maybe even 3 years ahead. And you have to project, even with the young kids right now, and even though they're not producing as much is because kids who sat before them and waited their turn, it's their turn to produce. And so you have to project. Savannah Felgemacher, who didn't play at all yesterday, is going to be a really good player for us. I think Logan Reynolds is going to be a really good player for us. Kayla Cooper-Williams is providing, knowledge that she's going to be, a really good player for us. Ania Young, I'm really excited about the group that's coming in next year. But when you're replacing a Muff Mickens, Jazmon Gwathmey, who was CA Player of the Week again this week, congratulations. You're going to be a little bit hesitant, scared a little bit, just because they mean so much. But you have to trust that the next crop of kids are coming in, and they're learning from these kids, just like Jazmon and Muff did from previous players. Because when Jazmon was a freshman or sophomore, I knew she was very talented. I didn't know if she could become the player that she is now. I knew it was going to be a lot of hard work. Muff Mickens, I didn't know if she was going to be able to be the player she is now, but with a lot of hard work, she was. And I think these kids that are coming up are following in suit with what the previous kids did as well.
Coach, before we let you go, again, it was an emotional weekend at the Convocation Center, not only for the two basketball programs, but also making his final regular season appearance was the commissioner of the Colonial Athletic Association, Tom Yeager, was in this weekend. And he's been the only commissioner in the history of the league, which I think is just remarkable for that to occur. Certainly for women's basketball, for basketball in general, what are your thoughts on the commissioner's career as with the CAA?
You talk about it, the length of his tenure as being remarkable. I think the substance of his career has been remarkable. Everything that he's been able to accomplish, not only for the CAA, but in sports in general. I know he's been on several committees, spearheading, growth in athletics, which is tremendous. For me personally, Mr. Yeager has been a very calming influence, a mentor, someone that you can look up to, someone you can look to for guidance and just stability, and what he's provided. I came in, the league was just forming when I came in, so obviously he's the only commissioner that we've ever had, that I've ever known. But just watching him, the way that he's conducted himself and allowing this conference to grow as a player, as a member on the men's side in the coaching ranks, and as a member on the women's side in the coaching ranks, and just watching him and his demeanor towards all sports, and it's not just one sport that gets all of his attention, but he really wants to make all sports the best of their ability. And I really appreciate all of his efforts, his time, his energy, and what he's done for the CAA. We're going to miss him. Whoever is going to fill his shoes, they have huge shoes to fill. And I know the CAA, I know that the ADs and the presidents will do their due diligence to get someone in there. But it's going to be a tough task, because the CAA, I think, has developed a mentality based on their leader. And we've had a fantastic leader, someone who's taken us this far. Is watching. I think 3 programs get to the Final Four in basketball. With men 2 times and the women once. It's just been a great run for him, for the CAA, and we really appreciate all of his efforts. And we try to make sure that our kids understand the importance of all of his efforts and his work and what he's meant. And we're going to miss him. We're going to miss him, but I really do thank him for everything that he's done for all sports in the CAA. And I don't know what he'll do now, but I hope he really enjoys his time away. I know he's got grandbabies and things that keep him busy, and I'm sure he'll still be around. But we definitely will miss him and his guidance, his leadership that he's provided for all of us.
All right. Thank you, Coach Brooks. Appreciate that. Best of luck. The Dukes on the road for the last 2 of the regular season. Wednesday night, that game is televised, and it's an 8 o'clock start, by the way. And then on Saturday, a noon ball game against the College of Charleston. That snowed out game a few weeks ago when the Dukes were trapped in Towson, Maryland. That's right. But they did finally escape. Thank you very much, Coach, and best of luck this week. Good travels. And we may have you next week here Monday. We'll let you know that.
I hope not. I
hope not, too.
You guys are in Baltimore, and we'll postpone it for a week.
All right. That sounds good.